Okay, we are live on YouTube as well. Hello, everybody watching. The group is gathering. We'll be starting at 1 o'clock. If you have any questions for a member of the executive team or the president, please email questions@massbay.edu, please. Hey, Steve, you want to lower your mic a little bit? Hi, David.
Greetings.
We are live on Facebook and live on YouTube.
Wow.
And we have 14 people watching on YouTube. I've already shared to have them send questions to questions@massbay.edu.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Let's give people a little more time. I get 12:57, so we'll give people 3 more minutes to join us.
Hi, David. Hi, Liz.
Thank you all for this student town hall meeting. We're streaming currently live to Facebook and to YouTube. We're letting the rest of the management team gather. We'll be starting roughly around 2 o'clock. Thank you. Welcome to the MassBay Student Hall Town Meeting. We'll be roughly starting around 2 o'clock. We're live streaming currently to Facebook and YouTube.
One o'clock, Michael.
I apologize. 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, should we get started? I'm going to ask Mike Lyons to just do an introduction to explain how it's going to work. Mike?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the live stream on Facebook or YouTube. You'll be having a student town hall meeting with MassBay Community College. During the meeting, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them to the comments section on Facebook or to email questions@massbay.edu. We have staff members who are going to act as a proxy and will ask those questions for you inside of this town hall meeting. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. David Padell. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome, everybody. I'm sorry that I can't see all the students because we're doing this through Facebook, etc. But I'm really glad you've joined us, and we have this opportunity to for me to answer your questions. I'm joined by members of my cabinet who you may or may not be able to see on the screen. Not sure.
5 people live there.
I'm going to ask Samaria to put on her mute. Thank you. Okay. So let me just jump right in. First of all, I want to thank all the students for their patience and their cooperation as we made this transition. Of course, it's not a small matter converting a whole college from mostly face-to-face to entirely remote or online instruction, as well as all of our business operations and then all of our student supports. That's what we did over the past couple of weeks. The world changed and we had to change with it to keep MassBay here to serve you. Our top goal after safety was keeping the academic semester going and getting you all to the end of the semester so you can complete it, get your grades, get your credits, get your learning, and move on to the next step, which might be summer session, which might be fall, which might be graduation, might be transfer. But that was our priority after everyone's health and safety, which of course has to come first. A little summary of what transpired. Right after spring break, we took a 1-week moratorium for face-to-face courses to give faculty the opportunity to transition their courses to remote instruction. That meant they had to rethink their courses, redo some of their material, just reconceptualize the whole way they were going to teach. The online courses kept going, and the 8-week 2-session courses began online, but the classes that were face-to-face had to wait a week as well. During that time, we offered workshops to students to get them on board with remote instruction for those who are not familiar with how to do it. Some of you availed yourselves of that. And now this past week, we had our first week of remote instruction. I know there have been some blips here and there. Of course, there are going to be. But I think people have been patient. The important thing is to keep in close touch with your faculty. Email them. Ask your questions. If you're having some trouble, be patient. Give your faculty a chance to respond and learn what it is that you need to do to keep the class moving. One thing I want to say first out is we do not want people to come to campus. Do not come to campus. There's no reason for you to do that. We're trying to protect, of course, the essential staff who have to be there because we've got to keep the building protected and looked after. And we don't want them to be put in jeopardy by people coming into the building too much. So the building is not available to students. In fact, none of our buildings, Ashland and Framingham, are not open, and Wellesley, you should not be coming there as well. The way that we're teaching now through remote instruction is going to last till the end of the semester. It's from last week till the very end. So keep up with your classes, with your instructor. Don't lose your momentum, and don't come to campus. All the services that you're used to getting on campus, you can get on the web. So that includes advising, counseling, career counseling. It includes any kind of tutoring that you're getting at the Academic Achievement Center. All that's available on the web, as well as the services you need through the registrar, financial aid, student accounts. All of that can be done on the web. So keep looking on the web for how to get into those offices. We'll try to make it easier if we can, but it's all there. And of course, by phone as well. The best way to communicate is by email. Please check your email, your MassBay email, every day. Every day. Make it a habit. Maybe first thing in the morning or at lunchtime or whatever, whenever you want to do it. Build it into your routine to check your MassBay email because that's our best way to communicate with all of you. Don't forget, there's 4,300 of you. So to get through to all of you, we need to send out emails. To get through to a class, the professor has to do it by email, not to your personal email, to your MassBay email. Really, really important. I want to talk for a second, and we will have time for the questions, don't worry, about doing schoolwork at home. For many of you, maybe it's not easy. I'm sure you didn't plan to take your semester as a remote instruction semester, and maybe your home, your apartment is not set up for it. Try to carve out some quiet space for yourself. Try to keep up with whatever the professors are telling you to do. We don't want you to fall behind. And try to imagine that this is just a different kind of semester for the remaining weeks, and we're all going to get through it together. So stick with it. If you have some problems, be in touch with your professor or be in touch with one of us. We can provide you with the supports you need. Okay, so what's ahead? I talked about the spring semester being an entirely remote or online semester for what's left of it. And we're here to support you to get you through that. Some important specific facts that I want you to know. Usually the last day to withdraw from classes is April 10th. We've moved that to May 1st. So the last day to withdraw from classes has been moved from April 10th to May 1st. Make a note. Fall registration for fall 2020 is going to begin on April 27th. Fall registration begins on April 27th. Many of you have written in asking about changing our grading system such that we could have a pass-fail option. Many colleges in the United States are doing that. The faculty, a committee of faculty, are meeting later today to discuss that very matter. And we hope they reach a conclusion quickly because it makes a lot of sense. The way pass-fail works in a lot of places is that it's the student's option. So the professor still assigns a grade, but if the student has opted in to pass-fail, that means that the grade automatically becomes converted to a P or an F. Now, why is that so important? Because some of you are probably using your grade to be admitted to another course that might have a prerequisite, must get a B or above in a prerequisite course. Or you need a GPA at a certain level to enter a certain program, a selective program. You might be thinking about your transfer. It should be, in many, many colleges, it is the student's option. And I'm hoping that our faculty come to that same conclusion when they meet today at 3 o'clock. And I'm optimistic that they will. So stay tuned for more information about the pass-fail. It's not resolved yet, but it should be resolved in the next day or 2 or 3. One point about commencement. Commencement is an event that everybody holds dear to their heart. Of course, the graduates themselves, the families of the graduates, and I have to tell you, those of us who work at MassBay, it is a magical, very special day. It's one where we are so proud of our students, so thrilled at their success, and we can't wait to celebrate it with them and with their families. But we all know that the current conditions with the virus do not allow us to have a big commencement under a tent in the month of May as we ordinarily would. We would love to, but it's not a risk that we should take. So we have a committee that's working on alternate plans. The plans are not established yet, so once again, stay tuned. We'll be in touch with the graduating students about some of the ideas that we're considering. If you are scheduled to graduate this spring, you should still fill out an application to graduate. Very important. You can get that on the registrar's homepage. So go to the MassBay website, go to the registrar's homepage, and look for the link to the application to graduate. Very important because we want to get you in the set of graduates. But how we're going to do graduation, still not yet clear. So we'll be talking to you more about that. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but I think it's all important. The summer. We're going forward with our summer semester. The first summer term begins May 18th. That's a 4-week term, and of course there's also the 10-week term. All of those face-to-face classes that were scheduled to begin May 18th will be remote. They'll be taught remotely. Of course, those that were scheduled to be online will continue to be online, but those that were scheduled to be face-to-face will be remote. Now, in most cases, that's not a problem. There are some programs where we still have some things to work out. I'm thinking specifically about some of the health science classes, not all, but some that would have been lab or clinical sections, and the automotive classes. So watch for emails from your faculty and your deans about automotive and health science for the summer. But for those terms beginning May 18th, your classes will either be, other than automotive and health science, your classes will either be online or remote. Online if you signed up for it, and remote otherwise. There's another term that begins in July, but we haven't made a decision about that term yet. So we'll keep in touch. I'm planning to make these town halls a weekly event on Mondays at 1 o'clock, because I'm sure as the weeks go by, there'll be more information that we need to share, more questions that you want to ask. But it is a way for us to keep in touch. Of course, there's email, but I think this is another way that gives us a chance to exchange ideas and thoughts and questions and answers. But I want to say, before I open it up to questions, how much I really appreciate everybody's patience and their commitment to their studies in a time that is, let's face it, full of anxiety. We're worried about our families. We're worried about ourselves. We're worried about our pursuit of our education. It's a tough time. It's a tough time for the whole nation. But we're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it together. MassBay is not just a community college. It's a community of which you are a part. That means that we are here for one another. We support one another. That means faculty supporting students, staff supporting students, students supporting one another. Let us know if you're facing difficulties. If you don't reach out to us, we don't know that you have an impediment, an obstacle, a problem. Let us know. Use your email to be in touch with the proper offices, or write to me. Keep in touch with your professors. That's the most important thing. Let them know where your obstacles are. Let them be the first point of contact if you have questions or challenges. And of course, contact the various student services offices if you need help. We are here to help you, and I mean about anything. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. This period in our nation's history and in our lives is a big challenge, but the future is going to be better than the present. We are up to this challenge. We're going to stick together, and we're going to get to that great future. So let me now take questions that you may be writing in on email to questions@massbay.edu or through I know there's another way.
Comment field on Facebook.
Thank you, Stephen Dill. And I wonder if any questions have come in.
We do have a few. Quite a few have been addressed that were relative to the pass-fail, and a little bit in terms of the summer. I think the predominant question that seems to come up, though, that is not necessarily addressed is what about those students who are finding the switch to online or remote, rather, to be a burden and are facing a choice to withdraw? Are there, in fact, mechanisms to help them out, and what is the consequence should someone take a W on a class?
Okay. I would say first, talk to your professor via email about the issues you're having. You can always talk to someone in academic advisement. That's the office to go to next to say, I'm struggling, I'm not sure if I should stay in the course, what are my options, how would it affect things? So talk to academic advising, and you can reach them. Go to our website and type in academic advising, and it'll tell you how to contact the advisors. And they can provide you with lots of information about your options and all the implications of your choices. Withdrawal is an option, but one thing that I want to communicate to everybody is that we're going through the adjustment period. Last week and this week are a big adjustment to these new realities. So I would say don't be so quick to withdraw. Give it a shot. Give it time. There's time to withdraw if you want to do that. We said the deadline has been moved to May 1. But give it a try. You might find that figuring it out, you can do it. And getting the proper supports, you can do it. So don't let abandoning the course be your first option. Dig deep, ask for help, get help. But you always have your faculty and the academic advising office there to help you make your decisions. Does anybody in the cabinet want to add anything to that? Looking to my colleagues. Okay. All right. Stephen, the next question.
There are questions around will the semester be extended because we lost a week after spring break?
Good question. No. The semester is going to end in its normal timetable. So the faculty have to kind of hustle to fit in that lost week. It might have happened had we had a snowstorm. There are other reasons why a college doesn't meet all of its classes. So it turns out we didn't have any snow days. It was a very mild winter, as it turned out. So we'll be fine. But I will say that the exception to that may be in some of the automotive and health science classes. And there we have to figure it out because those particular classes depend so much on individual one-to-one contact that we have to figure out how to do that in this current era. So there may be exceptions with automotive and health science, but for everything else, the semester will end on schedule. Good question.
There was a question also about extending counseling service, and I believe you covered it, but you might want to reiterate that all services that were face-to-face are now available remotely.
Yes, and counseling is something that most people think of as a face-to-face activity. And in general, that's true. But this is an extraordinary period, and we offer counseling over the web so that you can be receiving the services that you need, the support you need from a professional counselor from your home. And for those of you who are really, really struggling emotionally, I would say take advantage of that. That is there for you. MassBay has always supported our students with counseling, but at this particular time, where there's greater stress in the world, or more uncertainty, sometimes it triggers things in people, and they become more anxious. And that is certainly understandable. Don't be shy about asking for help. And I really, really mean that. That's why we provide these services, for you to move forward in your lives and in your academic careers. They're here for you, all of those services and all those professional staff who are now working from home. They're there to provide, to meet your needs. So please, please, please don't hesitate.
Sir, there are a couple of questions around testing, both in terms of finals, but also in terms of practicums, not practicums, I'm saying placement testing, etc. What are our options there?
Yeah. With regard to course final exams, be in touch with your faculty member, your professor, and they will tell you what they're going to do, how they're going to handle final exams. So that's a professor by professor decision. And professors are going to have to be creative. Okay, so go with the flow with your professor. With regard to placement testing, we're working on that. We don't have a definitive answer for you. There are a few different options that we're examining, and we'll be in touch about that.
One slight point of clarification, there's a 6-week 1 and 6-week 2 summer course, not a 4-week.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
details, but the plan is to, in fact, do both 6-week one as well as the 10-week in the remote or online if it already was.
Right. Thank you for that correction.
The other question that has come up a couple of times has been around the challenge, let's just say, of going on with a pass-fail program and then transferring those or making sure that the next place that they need to use it. So I think it would make sense to reiterate this will be a choice.
Well, let me say, it's in the hands of the faculty. I am hoping that they agree upon a pass-fail option that includes student choice. That's the way most colleges work. So I'd be very surprised if it was anything different, but I don't want to speak too soon because the faculty is meeting later today, a faculty committee on this subject. Of course, this is an extraordinary semester. So students who are thinking of transferring, most receiving colleges into which you might transfer, understand the phenomenon of this semester and are themselves going into pass-fail. Framingham State, for example, recently instituted a pass-fail option in the last few days. So that's a college that many of our students transfer to. So I think your odds are very good that the colleges receiving pass-fail grades will understand why, because of the nature of the semester. But I think where one should be particularly careful is if you are taking a course that is a prerequisite to something else, and the other course says must have a grade of B or above to enter this course, or a program, if you're applying to the nursing program or many other selective programs here or at other colleges, they may have specific requirements with regard to a letter grade. So make your choice carefully. If you're in doubt, contact Office of Academic Advising and talk to the staff there and see, is this course one of those courses where I maybe shouldn't switch to pass-fail, assuming that option comes up, as we will know in a few days. So you want your facts. As I said before, the faculty, when they submit their grades, if this works the way it does at most colleges, they don't know who is pass-fail and who isn't. They compute a grade and they submit it. And then the computer, if you have opted for pass-fail, switches you into P or F. So that's just something to have in the back of your minds. But you want to make your decisions with as much information as you can glean. So if you're in doubt, talk to Academic Advising and find out what they would recommend or what this particular course might mean to a subsequent course for which it's a prerequisite. And I'm looking back at my cabinet colleagues. If there's anything to add to that, please wave your hand or something so I know you want to speak up.
There was a question as to whether we would be still holding the Evening of Excellence.
Alas, no. There'll be no ceremonies this semester. Of course, it's a shame because these are wonderful evenings. We will try to find other ways to honor the students who, for their academic achievements. We're going to have to be creative, but this is what's happening all around the country.
There's an interesting question about peer tutoring from a peer tutor. So I would presume that the resource for them is to touch base with the Academic Achievement Center, correct, and see how that's getting coordinated?
Sounds good, like a good suggestion, Stephen Dill. Thank you.
Just off the top of the head. There was a clarification relative to the pass-fail again, and this was that they would most likely, should this be instituted by the faculty, have a choice per class. That's the way you perceive it, correct?
Yes. It's not one student deciding for all of your classes. You would decide per class. That's how it's been done traditionally at colleges that offer pass-fail options. So you might do it for this class, but not for that class.
And a further on the Night of Excellence. So with all celebrations, they will be rescheduled, and at this point, it is to be determined, correct?
I can't say that they'll necessarily be rescheduled. We don't know. Too soon to tell. We've been focused very much on the academics and the student services, and now we can move our attention to some of the ceremonial. Next question.
I'm just checking. I believe we are at the end of our questions. Let me just see if anything else has come in at the last minute here. Again, another point of clarification, but will the pass-fail affect our GPAs?
That's the magic of pass-fail. If the faculty opt to introduce a pass-fail option, the P does not affect your GPA. The F does. That's the nature of Fs. That's why people don't want Fs. So the P is neutral.
There is a further question on that, which is, will it affect our ability to get onto the dean's list?
Well, that's an interesting question because we've never thought about that because we've never had the pass-fail option. So we're going to have to put that on a list of things to consider. I'd be very surprised if it did, because the reality is we're in an extraordinarily unique situation. No one in their lifetime has encountered this. So we have to make a lot of accommodations for the unique situation we're in. And off the top of my head, I would be very surprised if the faculty wanted to make the pass-fail an impediment to being on the dean's list. I would be very surprised. But I don't want to speak for them, and we need to give the faculty time to consider it.
So that appears to be, again, one came in late, hold on. It's more of an observation. Professors have the option to restructure their courses. That makes sense with a switch to remote. However, have they been given the ability to change class schedules?
An interesting question. I think if it's what we call a synchronous class, meaning it meets, the professors meeting with the students through WebEx and seeing them all on the screen, I'd be troubled if the class was meeting at times other than the scheduled time. But I don't want to make a universal statement. I would say if you have any concerns about the matter, contact after you talk to your professor, talk to your dean. Now, some professors, when they went remote, might have made their classes asynchronous. That is to say, not meeting as a group, but through assignments, through YouTube, through email. That's a perfectly all right way to make a class remote. So an asynchronous class where there's no formal class meeting is legitimate. But if it's a synchronous class where everyone's meeting at 11 o'clock on Thursday all together, I'd be troubled if it's off the schedule, but there might be some valid reasons that I don't know. So I would say contact your dean if that's an issue for you.
You may need to reiterate that we don't know how placement tests will be replaced or handled going forward, but we're working on it.
Right. There was a question. I'll just repeat it. That we're working on how to address the need for placement testing. I'm not talking about final exam testing. That's determined by your professor. But placement testing, which is usually done when students are first entering the college and they take AccuPlacer, or tests that are taken to get into selective programs, like the nursing programs, those are matters that have yet to be worked out.
There is a question I had missed, which was on the refund of lab fees. Are we looking at any sorts of refunds?
Refund of lab fees, we have not yet had a chance to discuss. So let's put that on our list of things that we'll need to discuss, and I'll have to get back to you.
Checking. How late will we have to opt into the pass-fail? Could we do it with some classes and not others? Well, we've addressed some of that. How late is part of the program, I suppose, right?
Let me start by saying we don't have a pass-fail option yet. So all of this is hypothetical. And I don't want to speak too soon because the faculty is meeting and discussing it. It's a faculty choice. Faculty as a group. It would make it for the college. So if it is passed by the faculty, it's by course. So one student may say, I'm going to do it for my English course, but not for my economics course. And the other part of the question was when, still to be determined by the faculty. What would be the deadline for changing your grade to pass-fail? But it's all hypothetical because the faculty have not yet met to discuss it. But a committee is meeting this afternoon.
And again, just one more. And would it only be for spring 2020 or most likely going forward?
Also, again, I can't speak for the faculty. That's their choice. They may say this is a precedent and let's go forever, or they may say this semester only or until further notice. I can't say. In a college, faculty have, we share governance with the faculty. The president doesn't make all the decisions for the college. And the academic matter is that pertaining to curriculum, teaching, grading, that belongs to the faculty as a group. So we look to them to make choices about our academic policies. So that's why I couldn't simply wave my magic wand and say, this will be our policy about pass-fail, because grading belongs to the faculty. And they'll be meeting today, or at least a committee of them, to take up this issue of pass-fail.
Will the challenge exams be offered virtually?
A good question. I don't know the answer, but I think that the provost does. I wonder if we could take Lynn Hunter off of mute. Go ahead, Dr. Hunter.
Hi, Dr. Pinnell. We are working on that, and we anticipate we will have a way to take those challenge exams remotely soon.
Great. Thank you.
And there's a question going forward, will we have an email of all the key points given out during these meetings? If you could just reinforce that these are being archived both on Facebook and on live stream. And there is a WebEx recording as well. And yes, we will in fact put together a summary of all these questions.
There's the answer. Thank you, Stephen.
There's a couple of points of praise for your leadership, so let's pass those on. There are folks who are your fans.
Thank you. I just want to say, I'm the one speaking, but all of the work that preceded this was done by a lot of people. The members of my staff, the administration, the faculty worked really hard over spring break and the week that we had a moratorium on classes to get to where we are. Especially many of you who have in and out of campus, we have the best campus safety team in the country. I mean, we have a great team, and they've been working really, really hard. And behind the scenes, the facilities team, which has been cleaning up our campuses and trying to keep us safe from the virus. The IT team, information technology, have been extraordinary in making all of this change possible. You can't imagine what's gone on behind the scenes. And when a lot of us stopped coming to campus, many of those people I described were still coming to campus so that we could all be set up to do our work and our teaching and our learning remotely. This is not something students often think of, but there's a purchasing and receiving office that must function so that we could ship out things to faculty to help them teach, etc., keep the business of the college going. And there's a purchasing office that is necessary for us to purchase all the tools that we need to keep teaching and learning going remotely, not to mention all the things we need to keep the campus clean and safe. So these behind the scenes people have moved heaven and earth so that we could keep you learning, keep you supported, provide you the services, and keep the rest of us teaching and administering the college. So those are the ones who, please join me in thanking them, because they're all behind the scenes and working really hard, really, really hard.
That, I believe, is it, sir.
All right. Whew. Listen, we're going to meet again on every Monday. So some of the questions that we were not able to answer, we'll bring back on Monday if you don't hear sooner via email. Check your email. Keep up your hard work. Take a deep breath when you are anxious and just keep supporting each other. Reach out to your friends who might be alone or stressed. Remember that we are all here to support you. The entire faculty administration is here to support you, our students. We're going to get through this together. We're going to be an even stronger community after all this is over. And I look forward, as I'm sure you do, to that day when we can sit back and say, wow, we got through that. Incredible. So thanks to you all for your perseverance and your commitment to MassBay and to your education. And we are here to help you get to the next point in your academic lives. So see you next Monday. Thank you for attending.